violated Clayton County Sheriff's Office rules and regulations and or Clayton County Civil Service rules 3.05, harassment to employees, and 7.05, adherence to laws. Based on the rule violations, the recommendation for these actions is termination. That is accurate to what you received, correct?
It is.
Okay. Just so you'll know how this hearing will go, what I will do is I will ask Major Smith to read in for the record basically the investigation, the details, his letter, and his recommendations. If there's any other testimony to be had from either the captain or the lieutenant, I'll take that. And then once we've got everything in on the record, I will give you the opportunity to give testimony and or to ask questions of any of the witnesses that are involved in the case.
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right, Major, if you would get us started by reading the complaint.
Okay. I sent a memo April 27 to you in which I attached an investigation that had been completed by Lieutenant Skeen, and it was also endorsed by Captain Gavel. That investigation was conducted by Lieutenant Skeen, and it stated that on April 1st, Court Security Officer Lakeisha Johnson reported that Deputy Murray on a daily basis approach her and start singing and ask her if he can kiss her elbow or hands. She always told him no, and that she would walk away. Then on March the 31st, Deputy Murray walked up to her as she was standing at the winding position in the courthouse atrium and proceeded to touch her on her right side and pretended like he was singing to her. She swatted his hand and asked him what he was doing and told him to go away. He walked away singing. CSO Johnson felt this behavior was totally inappropriate, and she in no way invited the unwanted attention. She stated it makes her uncomfortable to be around Deputy Murray. And at that time, Lieutenant Skeen states that he advised her he'd not assign him to the atrium, and if anything else, to inform him of any. If he said anything else, for her to inform any of the court security supervisors. On March the 17th, CSO Heather Bruce advised Deputy Murray was constantly asking her out on dates. She also stated he had asked CSO Marlena Pauls out on a date, and she told him no because she also already had a boyfriend. CSO and Bruce told Deputy Murray no, and that she was not interested in dating him since he was married. Deputy Bruce stated that on one occasion when he asked her out and she said no, that we could be friends, he said yes, she would go out with him, and they would get married and have children, and they would be sitting at dinner with another married couple talking about how she almost missed her chance with him. On March the 17th, Lieutenant Skeen called Deputy Murray to the office, and along with Lieutenant Smith, spoke with him regarding the incident with CSO Bruce and Pauls. Lieutenant Skeen advised him that behavior would not be tolerated and that it needed to stop, and if the behavior continued, it could result in a more severe form of discipline. This incident was noted on Deputy Murray's critical incident log. On April 1st, CSO Bruce advised Lieutenant Skeen that Deputy Murray asked CSO Sanders for her phone number, and that he asked her after Lieutenant Skeen had spoke with him about this incident, about the March 17th incident. On April 2nd, Lieutenant Skeen spoke with CSO Sanders, and she advised that he did ask for her number, and she told Lieutenant Skeen that he texted her, but she did not respond to him because she found out he was married. On April 14th, Lieutenant Skeen received CSO Sanders' statement, and she stated on March the 23rd is when Deputy Murray texted her saying, "Sanders, what's up? It's Murray from your job." She advised she never responded and no other communication has happened. On April 15th, Lieutenant Skeen spoke with CSO Sanders and asked her where Deputy Murray asked for her number, and she stated by Mrs. James Graves' desk as she was signing in for work. Lieutenant Skeen asked her if she knew the date that he asked her, and she could not remember the date, but it was approximately a week before she got the text from him. Lieutenant Skeen asked her if that was Monday, March 16th, or could it have been during the week of the 16th, and she said yes, it was during that week. Lieutenant Skeen had her to show him the text that Deputy Murray sent her, and it was sent on March the 23rd at 6:45 p.m. from phone number 678-545-8494. On April 13th, he spoke with Deputy Murray in reference to the allegation that was made by CSO Johnson. Lieutenant Skeen asked him if he made any inappropriate comments or touching of CSO Johnson. He stated no, and that he did not know who Lieutenant Skeen was talking about. He said he didn't know the name, but he may know the face of CSO Johnson. In that conversation, CSO Murray stated that he sang to all the court security officers in the same manner. He stated if he touched CSO Johnson, it was only to get her attention and not to be sexual. He told Lieutenant Skeen that he was known as a kidder by the court security officers. He stated that Deborah Pillane, Rakia Smith, and Patricia Coles would vouch for him as being a kidder. On April 13th, Lieutenant Skeen spoke with Deborah Pillane, and she advised that she had seen how Deputy Murray looked at the females. She said he looks up and down at the females, and she advised she's heard him sing, but couldn't tell what he was singing. She stated she had seen him singing and speaking with CSO Johnson and Curry. On April 13th, he also spoke with CSO Patricia Coles. She stated that she's seen the same as CSO Pillane. She also told Lieutenant Smith a female came to the courthouse and wanted to make a complaint on Deputy Murray's behavior. She told her where to go, but the female never made the complaint. On April 13th, Lieutenant Skeen also spoke with CSO Curry, and she stated that she heard Deputy Murray sing, but did not know what he was singing. She told Lieutenant Skeen she has seen Deputy Murray look at other females and seen him looking at CSO Johnson's backside. On April 13th, he also spoke with CSO Daniels, Atwater, Redding, and Carter, and none of them said that they saw any inappropriate conduct or behavior from any deputies. So the investigation reveals that Deputy Murray did violate a direct order that was given to him by asking CSO Sanders for a number. It also reveals Deputy Murray violated Clayton County Sheriff's Office harassment policy by harassing CSO L. Johnson on a daily basis by singing to her about kissing her elbows and hands and by touching her on the right side of her torso. CSO Johnson has told him on every occasion she was not interested and would walk away from him. She said that this behavior was inappropriate and made her feel very uncomfortable. The allegations of Deputy Murray have been sustained. Lieutenant Skeen found that Deputy Murray violated Clayton County Sheriff's Office rules and regulations and civil service rules on sexual harassment, which is Resolution 9064. The resolution is attached. Deputy Murray had a new employee orientation through Clayton County Human Resources covering sexual harassment on July 17, 2013, which is also attached with the class roster. He also signed an acknowledged form for 2013 for the policy review that's sent out to us each year on October 30th of 2013 and 2014, and a policy review on October 29th of 2014. And there's copies attached for each one of those. And the quoted rule is 03.05, harassment, employment, and promotion prohibited. 705, adherence to laws. And the recommendation is due to the facts of investigation. Deputy Murray is a liability of Clayton County Sheriff's Office, therefore is requesting Murray be terminated. And in your packet, it is the items that were listed are attached: the employee orientation, an email that has come from Pam Ambles, because we contacted her. It's from Pam Ambles to Lieutenant Skeen, saying that Corey Murray attended new employee orientation on 7/17/13, and it mentions that during the new employee orientation they discussed the definition of sexual harassment, identify behaviors that are considered sexual harassing. They review Clayton County's policy against sexual harassment and discuss the consequences of engaging in sexual harassment behaviors. Deputy Murray also reviewed and acknowledged the yearly policy review as we continue to educate our employees regarding our policies. This is an email from her. The sexual harassment policy is part of the yearly policy review, and Deputy Murray signed the acknowledgement of the policy review on 12/3/7, 5/5/10, 4/3/13, 11/5/13, and 11/3/14. And I just mentioned there's some of these were not done during the time he was employed with us, so it is my belief that he must have been an employee at the county elsewhere. But, it's countywide policy, so it applies, and that's the reason we put it in there, to show that he's received much training about it. And then the essential policy package, we attached a copy of the ones that we have that he signed, and then a copy of the resolution is also there, which states the type of violations that he's made. And then there's also statements from Lakeisha Johnson, and I won't read the whole thing, but I will just, because I'm kind of just restating it. But basically, said on a yearly basis, Deputy Murray will come and approach me and start singing and ask me to kiss my hands and elbows. I always tell him no. And then on March the 31st, he walked to me as I was standing at the wanting position and touched me on my right side and began to pretend to be singing. I swatted his hand away and asked what he was doing and told him to go away. And when he walked, basically the same thing, when he walked away as though he was singing. There is a statement from Deputy Murray that was done on 4/13. And in his statement, he says, in reference to the allegations of me singing or touching a CSO, I've never inappropriately touched anyone with the intention of making them feel uncomfortable or violated. As I perform my duties in the atrium, I spoke to one of the COs, to all of the COs while up there. I related to them with a sense of humor that was evenly distributed. I would occasionally sing to the CSOs while there was time and no people were in the atrium. This would be done while I would be in close proximity and not across the atrium where outside bystanders would hear me. In the case of CSO Johnson, the same acts were done to her as with every other CSO there. I sang to CSO Johnson like I sing to CSO any other time. At no point did CSO Johnson display any form of discontent. At no point did I single out CSO Johnson. At no point did I single CSO Johnson out and choose to do something towards her and not anyone else. I'm reading from a handwritten statement, I'm sorry. If at any point I touched CSO Johnson, it was to get her attention and not to be sexual. If I was ever told to stop by CSO for my actions, it was always a reciprocated response in reference to my humorous behavior, which was clearly obvious and understood. And just stay. There he clearly says that she had told him to stop. Deborah, who is the supervisor for the afternoon shift, can attest to the fact that my behavior was innocent and across the board. And I think it's Kia, but it's hard to say something. Kia, who is a daytime CSO, can attest that my behavior and actions are harmless and without intention. Officer Kidd's mother, who is a daytime CSO, can attest that my behavior is harmless and without intention. The other afternoon CSOs can say the same. So that was his response to Lieutenant Skeen, and Lieutenant Skeen spoke about that in his memo itself. And then there's a statement from Shakia Sanders where it confirms or reiterates the asking of the phone number on March the 23rd. And that was after being told by Lieutenant Skeen after his talk with him on the 17th. Marlena Pauls, there's a statement from her dated 4/2 of 2015. She says she don't recall the date of this incident, but one afternoon after shift, she's walking to her car. As she got to her car, Deputy Murray followed her and explained to him that he startled her, and he began to ask when he would be able to take her out. And I told him that would not happen. He asked why. I told him I had a relationship with the boy and was not interested. I told him to let whoever I needed to know that he was taking me out. And I told him that we can only be associates at work, and he said, you can't do things you want to do at work. I again told him no, got in my car and left. We have not spoken since this incident. There's a statement from CSO Bruce that was dated 4/02/2015. Deputy Murray asked me to go out on a date with him on several different occasions. My response to him was no every time. One day after he asked me out in the parking lot, I told him that we could be friends, but I would not go out with him, and he told me yes, I would. On another day, he told me that him and I were going to get married one day and have children. We're going to be sitting at dinner with another married couple, talking about how I almost missed a chance with him. I laughed at him and asked him if he believed what he was saying, and he said he did, and I told him that it was never going to happen. I told him many times to stop trying to flirt with me and stop asking me out. He would not stop. I felt the need to speak to my supervisors, Lieutenant Skeen and Lieutenant Smith, about it. After I spoke to my supervisors, he stopped asking me out or speaking to me. And then there is an extract with a copy of the Deputy Murray's critical incident log that's maintained by supervisors, and it's with an annotation of 3/17/2015. It says, job-related incident, you were informed that 2 female court security officers made a complaint in references to you on multiple occasions, asking them out on dates. Each time both females told you no, but you kept asking them. Both females felt uncomfortable and reported it so that the unwanted advances would stop. And this was completed by Lieutenant Skeen. It was a negative action, and the action taken was You're called into the office and advised that this type of behavior would not be tolerated and needed to stop. You're also advised if any more complaints would result in a higher form of discipline. And then there's a photograph of Miss Lakeisha Michelle Johnson, and that's only because initially he didn't know who she was, so they let her see which CSO had reported him touching her inappropriately to make sure that he knew who it was. So after getting that investigation and reviewing it, it was a kind of a coincidental thing that Deputy Murray was being moved back to CSU because the sheriff wanted a deputy that had transferred, Deputy Harris had moved to transportation. One of the judges asked her to come back. So I moved Deputy Harris back over to courts. And since Deputy Murray was the last one to go to courts, I pulled him back out and put him back to CSU. So at that point, and I can't recall the exact date, but it was very close to the same proximity. Do either one of y'all recall the date? We have an order if we need to get that. But he was moved like the next day or so of when it actually come to fruition. So anyway, that was probably around the 21st or something like that. So I received this, and then I sent you this letter that I'd also like to read into the record. It was dated April the 30th from myself to Assistant Chief Sullivan. Request disciplinary action against Deputy Corey Murray. Sir, as you know, I request disciplinary action. Oh, I'm sorry, the wrong letter. That's the second one. I need to read this one first. April the 27th. Request disciplinary action against Deputy Murray, 20-016. Sir, attached you'll find an investigation completed by Lieutenant Skeen, which Deputy Corey Murray was accused of sexual harassment. Lieutenant Skeen has sustained the allegation against Deputy Murray. Captain Gavel's endorsed the investigation and recommend disciplinary action be taken. I will not restate the facts of the investigation, however, I will annotate clearly unacceptable issues that do in fact justify the sustaining of this case and termination of Deputy Murray. It is undisputed Deputy Murray did in fact receive a warning from Lieutenant Skeen, accompanied by Lieutenant Smith, to refrain from further acts of behavior in which he asked employees out on dates while on duty on March 17. It is undisputed Deputy Murray asked for employees' phone numbers after this warning. It's also undisputed that Deputy Murray was singing to Lakeisha Johnson and touched her in an unwanted or unsolicited manner. In fact, Deputy Murray's statement boasts he does it to all the CSOs. Additionally, he explains if he was told to stop, it was a reciprocated response in reference to his humorous behavior, which was clearly understood. This statement in and of itself is not acceptable as it relates to sexual harassment. How many ways must an employee tell another employee to stop before the employee making the advance gets the message? This is clearly a volatile situation when you have an officer making constant remarks and told every time to stop, and he brushes it off as if the employee saying stop somehow really means that it's okay. In addition to annotating the Clayton County Sheriff's Office rules and regulations and civil service rules violated, there are attachments which show Deputy Murray receiving training to prevent this type of behavior. On July 17, 2013, he received new employee orientation. Part of the orientation is discussing the definition of sexual harassment and behaviors that are considered sexually harassing, the county's policy against such behavior, and the consequences of engaging in those type of behaviors. An email from Human Resources indicate their records reflect Deputy Murray reviewed and acknowledged a yearly policy review on 12/2/2007, which is obviously a previous employee in the county elsewhere, 5/15/2010, 4/3/2013, and 11/3/2014. There are copies of essential policy packages acknowledgement forms dated 10/30/2013 and 10/29/2014, signed by Deputy Murray. Sir, I don't want to belabor the point, but I can't help but think of how I would feel should my spouse, daughter, sister, or granddaughter come home from work and tell me a man rubbed her side and sung to her after being told more than once to stop asking to touch her. That being said, I know it wouldn't be a pleasant experience, and no one should have to endure this type of behavior. We as a Sheriff's Office and county government go through great lengths to prevent these types of issues from occurring, and Deputy Murray has totally ignored each and every step taken. Any type of tolerance of this behavior is unprofessional, unjustified, and goes against the core of what this office stands for. We're supposed to be the place a person goes when they are in need of help. As our mission states, we protect those that can't protect themselves, not become the ones people need protection from. I'm very disappointed in Deputy Murray and his chosen behavior. He is an embarrassment to this unit, this division, the Sheriff's Office, but most importantly, the citizenry of Clayton County. Additionally, Deputy Murray was investigated in the past because an individual complained of him going to a residence and having a relationship with his wife. While the outcome of the investigation was not sustained, it should have at the very least put Deputy Murray on notice that he needed to use caution as it relates to dealing with the opposite sex on and or off duty. This behavior, especially when warned against, is totally unacceptable. Finally, I recall Deputy Murray's supervisor recommending he not be retained at the end of his probationary period. I, however, chose not to recommend termination because I felt the supervisors failed to clearly communicate to Deputy Murray he was not obtaining the standards expected as a sheriff's office employee. I felt it would be unfair to wait until the end of his probation period and then release him without any previous warning. He was given the benefit of the doubt and retained. In this instance, that is not the case. He has clearly been warned in writing and in documented training as to what is acceptable and what is not. He merely refuses to accept it, just like he refused to accept CSO Johnson saying no. Therefore, I have no other recourse than to strongly recommend Deputy Murray be immediately terminated. I have no doubt that failure to do so will result in future civil and or criminal liability of not only Deputy Murray, but our agency for negligent retention. Thank you in advance for any consideration given this matter. I submitted that to you on April the 27th, and prior to this hearing being able to be held, you was out of town, but you set up on the schedule, which is only 3 days out. Actually, I guess 4 days if you count the 27th. But since then, I received some more information in that disturbed me. So I sent you another letter on April the 30th. Again, it's to Assistant Chief Sullivan from Major Smith. The subject is request disciplinary action against Deputy Corey Murray. Sir, as you know, I requested disciplinary action be taken against Deputy Murray on April 27th. Since then, I've received additional information in reference to 2 more incidents that I believe reinforced our need to terminate this employee. It was brought to my attention that Deputy Murray, while working an approved part-time job at Pinstripe Bowling Alley, touched a female on her leg while having conversation with her. The female is a manager at the bowling alley by the name of Leola. Today, I personally spoke to Leola with Captain Lane as a witness. I requested she provide me a statement. If and when she does, I'll forward it to you. I told her it wasn't absolutely necessary, but I'd appreciate it. This was done because she really didn't want to make a report. It just made her feel awkward. Leola explained to me she was having general conversation with Deputy Murray, and he reached down and touched her leg. I asked what the conversation was about and where it occurred. She explained he asked her to come out to the parking lot. It was almost closing time. He had her go out the back door of the building. She said she thought he wanted to show her something. Once outside, they engaged in general conversation. For some unknown reason, he reached over and rubbed her leg. I asked her to show me where and how he rubbed her. She rubbed the very top of her thigh at almost the crease between the thigh and the hip, just off center toward her right side. I asked her if she ever met him before. She said she had not. I asked if he had worked there with her in the past. She said it was his first night. I asked if there was anything she may have said that would have given him a reason to think he could touch her. She said there wasn't. She said he had been flirting with pretty much the entire night, flirting with her pretty much the entire night, but he also flirted with almost every female that entered the building. I asked what happened when he touched her. She stated, "What are you doing? Don't touch me." He said he didn't mean nothing by it. She told him she was going back inside and went back in. I spoke with the boss, Mr. Tim Milton, on April 28th, and he explained she did report it to him. He in turn told Deputy Goodson what happened, and Deputy Goodson interviewed Mrs. Leola, attached a statement from Deputy Goodson as to his actions. It's clear this is inappropriate behavior for a deputy sheriff at any time. However, considering this was the first time working the location, the first time meeting this young lady, I'm really having a hard time comprehending not only why he did it, but what he saw that led him to believe he'd be okay in doing it. It is really irrelevant as to what they were talking about or why he did it. This is behavior that clearly we cannot and will not tolerate. While Deputy Goodson did not find sufficient cause to seek a warrant or other action based upon the victim not wanting to pursue it, from this officer's standpoint, it is clearly inappropriate behavior. Deputy Goodson did, however, see it was not wise to allow Deputy Murray to work when she was working as well, and since this encounter, he and Lieutenant Tillman have decided not to allow him to return to the bowling alley. This decision was made due to him also leaving before he was supposed to on another occasion. This incident is embarrassment to this office, the sheriff, and the citizens of Clayton County. The second incident occurred in the courthouse, in which Deputy Murray approached an unknown female on the phone. He stopped her and interrupted her conversation and told her to get off the phone. She was confused, as she should be, and asked what he was talking about. He told her to tell whoever she was talking to she had to go so she could talk to him. She looked at him as though he was strange, again as she should, and said, "I don't think so," and walked away. Deputy Murray was in his uniform and on duty when this occurred. It was witnessed by another officer who thought it was very unprofessional and embarrassing to him as an individual and as a member of the sheriff's office. I don't know who the person was he was talking to and really don't think it matters. This is just another incident in which Deputy Murray thinks and acts in a manner that brings discredit upon himself, this agency, and the citizens of Clayton County. And there is a memorandum from Deputy Goodson dated April the 29th, which reads at approximately from Deputy Goodson to Major Smith, subject Deputy Murray. At approximately 1900 on Friday, April the 3rd, I reported to an approved part-time job employment location at Pinstripes Bowling Alley, located at 3478 Mount Zion Road, Stockbridge, Georgia. I made contact with General Manager Mr. Tim Mullins to let him know I was there and to see if he had any special instructions for the night. He said he needed to discuss with me a minor incident that occurred the night before involving his night manager, Miss Leola Walker, and CCSO Deputy C. Murray. Deputy Murray is approved to work this part-time employment location on 4/2/2015. He informed me that Miss Walker had told him Deputy Murray had touched her inappropriately. I told Mr. Mullins that I will have a talk with Miss Walker to find out what happened. I spoke with Miss Leola Walker, and she said that while she and Deputy Murray were standing and talking, that Deputy Murray, while unprovoked, reached down and touched her on her knee with the back of his hand. I asked her if she had asked him to feel her knee, to which she said no. I asked her if she felt threatened or insulted or in fear of her safety. She said she did not. I asked her if she felt this inappropriate touch fell into the category of sexual battery charge. She said she did not, and further explained that she has a reasonable dating male social calendar. She has brothers, and far worse things have happened to her than a touch on the knee. She said it just felt awkward. I asked her if she was sure she didn't want to press charges, as I would have directed her to the clerk of the court, Magistrate Court of Clayton County, to complete a warrant application. She giggled and said that it was nothing like that. While speaking with Mr. Mullins earlier, he had suggested that it might be in the best interest of all concerned that Deputy Murray not be asked to work on the same night as Miss Walker. I shared this information with Miss Walker, and she informed me that beginning next week she will be going to school and will not be working on Thursday night schedules. Deputy Murray worked bowling alley the following Thursday, 4/9/2015, without any further incidents involving him and any female employees or customers. In the statement, respectfully, Deputy Goodson. After reading that and having a face-to-face conversation with Deputy Goodson, and I also had a conversation with Deputy Strucco, who had worked up there subsequently, and he had just got second-hand information too. Then, as I felt it, appropriate for me to go and talk to them face-to-face. I had called and talked to Mr. Mullins, but other than, he had told me what was going on, that she had said, but I just wanted to, for myself, see if there's any reason that maybe he touched her, or maybe a conversation was going in a direction where he thought it was okay. But after talking to her, then I felt more strongly that he absolutely should not have put his hands on her, and it's just inappropriate. So at this point, I think that's all I have.
Captain Gallo, is there anything to add?
No, sir.
No, sir. Deputy Murray.
Okay. Well, in reference of the Ms. Johnson, that's the name, Ms. Johnson. In reference of Ms. Johnson, the such as I stated to Lieutenant Skeen, the any event I did touch her, number one, first and foremost, it was never from the aspect of it being sexual. That's number one. Number two, such as I stated in my written statement, there is no behavior that I exhibited to her that was significant to her and unique to her only. That's number two. Number three, if at any given time she did say no, if any given time she did show any sense of a facial reaction, if any given time she did have a remark, whatever the case may be, it was always given back to me from the aspect of, okay, it's clear you and I both know that you're just playing right now. That's that. The surrounding cast would obviously see and say the exact same thing. So I'm not denying that if you consider the quotes that I was saying to her, kissing her elbows or whatever it was I said to her, the ridiculousness of that should let anybody know that it's clearly out of humor. That, and then the fact that a lot of the times when I was doing it, if all of y'all are CSOs, I'm doing it to all of y'all at the exact same time. At no point did she specifically say, okay, Deputy Murray, hey, listen, I do not like this, I need you to stop. If she said no, any event she did say no, because I'm not denying the fact that she may have said stop, whatever the case may be, but any event she did say stop, it was said in the same manner as if she knew that I was playing. So during the time that these people were interviewed, I'm pretty sure questions were asked, but were they the right questions that were asked? So because everybody up there knew that from the day shift for the morning shift, to the afternoon shift, everybody knew that was just my character. That's that. Going to, so going back to that. So at no point did she give me a response that's out of the norm from the aspect of hey, yesterday I was laughing when I said, boy, you crazy, stop, but today I'm serious, I need you to stop. At no point was it like that. That's number one. Number two, not even her manager, who was there 98% of the time, said anything to me about it. That's number two. Number three, after the date that this right here was given to Lieutenant Skeen, we all still had mutual conversation after that date. After that date, we all still had mutual conversation as if nothing ever occurred. So when he initially brought it to my attention, quite naturally, I didn't know what the lady's name was. There's only one person down there that I know her name firsthand, and she works day shift, and that's the lady, Kia, and that's because we've worked at the door specifically together. And at no point in time with me working with her, or at least let me say this, to my knowledge, I don't think at any point in time she has come to anybody as it relates to them saying, okay, when he and I have had intimate time, which meaning he and I, just us two, that he has said and or done anything to me out of the ordinary or to make me feel uncomfortable. I don't think that she's done that. But all in all, my point is, she's the only person named that I know, simply because she and I, we've actually sat down and we've had a conversation while at work. But up there, Chief, there is nothing that I have done to one person that was not evenly distributed. That's them. Going to the to the girl Bruce. So if you want to speak specifically about Bruce, I have done this because of my humorous nature. I've done this even in front of her mom, and her mom has acknowledged the fact that I was just playing. As a matter of fact, I've even walked up to her mom and said, "Hey, your daughter and I, we're going out on a date." You know, so there's nothing that's in these allegations that I am denying as it relates to Bruce or Paul's, simply because everything that I have done, it has been done from a humorous nature. I can tell you right now, I've come up to them, hey, yeah, when we're going out on a date, yeah, they know I'm married. Of course they know I'm married. Plenty of people here know I'm married. But that's all the more reason as to how come I can freely come out and just say something like that. Because they already know that I'm just simply playing. They already know that is the basis of my personality when they see me and then when they encounter me. Such as one, going back to Miss Bruce's mom, I don't remember her name, but going back to her, she clearly knows, even because I've even said stuff to her. Hey, yeah, so your daughter and I, we're going out to eat. Stuff like that. And she has clearly seen, Chief, that was merely out of a joking manner. So yes, while they have said, man, we ain't going out on a date. Yes, you're absolutely right. According to these statements, they have said, no, we're not going out on a date. But the only thing that I'm wondering is, were the proper questions asked? Yes, they have said no, but did they say no with the understanding of, yeah, I know he was just playing, and so was my response too. Although I did tell him no, it was still in the same humorous conversation, synonymous with everything that was going on at that time. That's that. Going to CSO Sanders. This is very, very simple. Oh, I'm sorry. So let's back up to Miss Pauls. First off, I was not following Miss Pauls to her car. We were getting off work at the exact same time. I was walking. I saw Pauls. So if this right here is an aisle and cars are parked here and cars are parked here, I saw Pauls walking in between. I was walking here. As she went to the car, I said, hey, right there. Yes, I started her right there because she did not see me coming. So first off, I did not follow her. We were leaving at the exact same time. She was going to her car. I was going to mine. And then, yeah, I did. I said, yeah, so we're going out on a date. Did I know her and Bruce are friends? Of course I do. Of course I know that they're friends. There's nothing that these people were putting out there. There are plenty of people, Chief, that you can go around and you would ask them the exact same thing and they brush it off their shoulders because they know that it's simply a joke. Now, if you go to them and ask them, hey, well, has he ever asked you that? Of course. And all it's going to do is build a case such as this right here. But if you ask them, do y'all know that he's simply just playing with y'all the entire time this is being done? That's a totally separate question that kind of downplays the severity of the things that are put out there towards me.
Can I interject something
Go ahead.
real quick? I'm going to read to you from Ms. Johnson's statement. These are her words, okay? And Major Smith already read the first sentence, but I'll reread it. On nearly a daily basis, Deputy Murray will come and approach me and start singing to me and ask, can he kiss my elbows or hands? I always tell him no and walk away. In the middle of this statement, where you touched her, it says, I swatted his hand away and said, what are you doing? And told him to go away. And I walked away. Now, this is the most important thing here, Deputy Murray. I think that his behavior is inappropriate and in no way invited this. I in no way invited this behavior, nor do I like it. It makes me feel uncomfortable and not want to show up to work in the atrium. Does that sound like someone's statement who thinks that you're kidding?
That no.
No, it doesn't.
It does not.
In the last sentence, or the last couple of statements of Ms. Bruce's statement, I told him many times to stop trying to flirt with me and stop asking me out. He wouldn't, so I felt the need to speak with my supervisors. Does that sound something like someone's statement who feels that you're kidding?
No, sir.
It doesn't.
So to respond to that, Chief, again, there is nothing that you... Okay, going back, so to respond to this swatting, as God is my witness, I sincerely do not recall a point in time where I have put my hand on her and she actively swatted my hand away. I really, really don't recall that. In the event I did do something like that, there's a 98% chance I was probably attempting to touch her hand, and at that time her hand moved and my hand may have inadvertently touched her side. But from an aspect of me just going and with full intentions to touch her side in the presence of other people, I have more sense than that. That's that. You're right, on a daily basis. Why? Because I work with these people up there on a daily basis. And my behavior towards Ms. Bruce, my behavior towards Ms. Johnson, it was consistent. And it was consistent across the board. It was consistent across the board. I'm not negating anything that is within the written statements. But all I am saying, Chief, is if you sit, I don't know their names, but if you sit these other people down and you ask them the exact same thing, has Murray ever sung to you? Yes. Has Murray ever sung to you? Yes. Has Murray ever sung to you? Yes. Everybody's going to say the same thing. Now, as it relates to the paperwork, it making her feel uncomfortable, she did not give me any type of sign that she felt uncomfortable. But at the same time, I can't necessarily tell you that my intention was specifically towards her. So let's just, for sake of argument, let's just say that she did feel uncomfortable. Because my attention wasn't completely on her, that's a pretty good chance I did miss it, because everything that I was doing, it was done evenly across the board. That's that. Going to Ms. Bruce, you're absolutely right. Why? Because if I wasn't at the front, I was at the back, and whenever she would come out, she would come and post up right there during her break. And I would always tease her, even in the presence of her mom. The exact same thing. So again, there is nothing that I am denying as it relates to what is in those papers. But all in all, when it comes back to it,
to include the fact that after Lieutenant Skeen told you to quit interacting with these people in that fashion, you asked someone else for their phone number?
Okay, so, and that's what I was leading into. Well, first off, when Lieutenant Skeen and I initially spoke on it in his office, I don't recall you actually giving me the names. I don't think he actually gave me the names. So with that being said, if there were people that were quote unquote feeling some type of way as it relates to that, I did not know who those people were to quote unquote not talk to them anymore, simply because everything that I was doing, it was across the board. That's that. Going to Miss Sanders, we spoke in the park. No, yeah, we spoke in the office downstairs, and Miss Sanders offered me her number. She offered me her number. I think it was like the day before or something like that. and I didn't get it. So when I came back to her the next day, I said, yeah, let me get your number. So yeah, I did get her number, and it was like a week later, and yes, I did text her, and no, she didn't text me back, and I simply left it alone. But guess what? Every single time that I saw her, I spoke to her. Hey, what's going on? Hey, what's going on? So the conversation never broke. From a consistency aspect, nobody ever at whatever point that she wrote this statement, at no point did her behavior or in her interaction change as it relates to me. We had very, very few conversation to begin with, Ms. Sanders and I, but every single time that we passed, which is what I'm getting at, such as like yesterday, I was walking in, she was walking out. Hey, how you doing? Hey, how you doing? And we kept going. So, you know, the ignorance of the stuff that I do from an aspect of me not knowing that these people are feeling some type of way as it relates to that is very, very genuine. Going back to the situation with the lady at Pinstripes, if it's who I think you're talking about, first off, I did not ask her to go out the back door. When Pinstripe closes at night, all the employees go out the same door. And such as I did everybody else, I escorted the male and the females out to the back door. I saw her sitting in her car. I walked up to the car. Why are you still sitting here? She told me she was sending a text message, and she was waiting for her car to warm up. I said, "Oh, okay." I saw the pants she had on. I was like, "Hey, what kind of pants are these?" Because they look like jeans, but they look stretchable. What kind of pants are these? That's all I did. At that point, she answered the question, what type of pants those were, and we went on within the conversation.
Why do you feel then that in her statement she said that it made her feel uncomfortable and it was inappropriate that what you did? If what your perception of that incident is what you say, how could two people interpret that so far apart? I mean, by her own words, she said it was inappropriate and it made her feel uncomfortable. That's her statement. Those are her words.
Well, I mean, again, Chief, I can't get into the mind of a person. If I come up here and I feel your shirt and I ask you what type of material this is, but to you feel some type of way about it, but you never outwardly display it to me, and somebody comes to you and asks you, well, how did you feel about it? Of course you're going to say that. But at no point in time did you give me any time, whether it be any type of facial reaction or any type of verbal indication that you felt some type of way about that. So I'm going to walk off completely ignorant of how you're feeling unless somebody comes and asks you. So there is nothing that I am denying as it relates to the stuff that I have done. But my behavior is consistent with everybody. That's that. Am I looking at people? I'm looking at male and females. But probably the question was simply related and catered towards females. Yes, I look at them up and down. Guess what? I'm looking at men coming inside the building up and down too. But that's probably not the question that was asked. I'm looking at everybody coming in up and down. I'm looking at them as they're coming and they're coming from the front. I'm looking at them as they're walking away from behind. There is nothing, Chief, that I am doing that is specifically towards one person and nobody else.
Chief, can I tell him how I asked that question?
You can.
What I asked the CSOs, Ms. Pillane, Ms. Coles, I asked have they seen any inappropriate actions by any deputy or Deputy Murray. They're the ones that came and volunteered the thing about how you check out women and by looking them up and down, and both of them did the look up and down. Okay, so it was not a question I asked them. I asked them if you've done anything inappropriate in their presence, and that's what they volunteered to me. Not a question as have you seen them do this. That was the question that I volunteered to ask them.
All in all, Chief, all in all, I'll continue to restate my initial claim. There's nothing, Chief, that I am doing I'm sorry, there's nothing that I have done or that I was doing at the time that was unique to one particular person. Let me say that. I hate that these things have come about, especially like all in such a close amount of time. I completely apologize for these things coming about, but from an aspect of me maliciously being a disrespectful person to women, maliciously being a disrespectful person to the sheriff's department, and then disrespectful person to the women in my family, that is completely not my character. If Miss Pauls, if Miss Bruce, if Miss Johnson had ever come to me and said in a serious manner, because not the essence of 99% of our conversations has always been humorous. That's what I'm trying to get you to understand. So I'm not denying that these people did say, Murray, stop, oh boy, you crazy. I'm not denying that at all. But if it's the same behavior every single day, I come to you, I slap in your back, hey man, how you doing? Tomorrow, I come to you, slapping your back, hey man, how you doing? I come to you day after that, slapping your back, hey man, how you doing? After a while, it's clearly obvious that, number one, that is until you say something, it's clearly obvious, number one, that is a behavior that you acknowledge that I am that I am doing as it relates to you. You clearly acknowledge that it's genuine and innocent, and then you clearly are letting me know that you accept it as it being a person, as you accept it as it being a part of my personality. So therefore, all of your responses every single time that I do that, as long as they are synonymous, there's nothing that you're going to say that's going to stand out to me like, okay, wait a minute. Because if you say, man, you crazy the first day, man, you crazy the next day, man, you crazy the third day, these things right here consistently, Chief, are what I'm going to take as from the aspect of, okay, Chief knows that I'm simply just playing with him. Now, the fourth day, you turn around and you say it with a completely straight face, quite naturally, I'm going to acknowledge the significance in your reaction on the fourth day versus the first, second, and third day. I'm probably going to ask you, okay, are you serious? I'm probably going to ask you, what did I do this time? Or, what was different between this time versus the day before? You having a bad day, whatever the case may be. I'm going to acknowledge that, and after that, I'm going to simply leave you alone in that regards, as it relates to that specifically. But the behavior that I have exhibited, whether it be to any of the CSOs, whatever the case may be, I stand by my word, Chief, that everything that I am doing or everything that I have done, even after these things right here, nobody outwardly displayed anything to me from an aspect of, in the midst of them still continuing to converse with me, because now that I know the names of Bruce and Pauls, guess what? Even after that, these people were still engaging in conversation with me. So let's just pretend that this accusation came on Monday. Guess what? On Tuesday, if it isn't Pauls or if it isn't Ms. Bruce, one of them are sitting down having a conversation with me, and we're merely talking, but that's probably not taken back to the person that they made the accusation to on the day before. So we're still having normal conversations, so I'm completely dumbfounded to the fact that this is the person that I should not be talking to right now. I'm completely dumbfounded to that. As it relates to Ms. Johnson, I'll say it again. Now that I know the date, even after that date, I'm still up there in the circle of them, and we're still just up there having normal conversation. So, again, in the event this was done on that Monday, on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, I'm still up there talking to a circle, including her, completely dumbfounded of the fact that she has made any type of an accusation towards me. Why? Because number one, her behavior and or reaction and or interaction has not changed at any point towards me. So, there really isn't anything else for me to say as it as it relates to that.
Can I ask him a question?
You can.
You said that at no time you felt like they were uncomfortable with what you're saying as far as Mark. Okay. That's the reason they mentioned it to the supervisor, so we knew that they felt uncomfortable with it. I had the lieutenants bring you in and talk to you to let you know that we found the behavior unacceptable and for you to stop it. We didn't give you the names at that time, so because we didn't want there to be hostility between you and them, because that's a possibility. Somebody makes a complaint, and then we tell you that they made a complaint. We was trying to resolve the issue at the lowest level, get you to stop the behavior with all the employees, not just the two that felt uncomfortable with it. So therefore, you ignored that opportunity. You ignored the information we were giving you that the activity or your actions were inappropriate.
So going back to that, my response to that, Captain, is very simple. The people that we're now speaking of from a name aspect, such as I can easily walk up to you and initiate a conversation with you. You can walk up to me and initiate a conversation with me. There's no telling from whatever date that these statements were written, how many times these people initiated conversations with me versus me initiating conversation with them. It's not a tit for tat thing as it relates to that. The basis of what I'm simply saying is conversations still ensue, interactions still ensue, and whatever I probably displayed at them towards that time, because I did not know that it is these things right here with these people right here that I was doing that caused these people right here to go to either you or lieutenant. It's very, very hard for me to sit there and say, okay, I need to stop doing something that I don't know what I'm doing, and that I don't know who I'm doing it to. Because I've done this for so long, from the aspect of me just simply being me, is kind of hard for me to, okay, who can I play with? Who can I quote unquote play with or be humorous with today, but not be humorous with tomorrow? So my behavior, I don't know how to like not be myself in a sense. That's all I'm simply saying. So when I was dealing with these people, when I was interacting with these individuals, Captain, again, had I simply known, and I completely get what you're saying as it relates to the humorous, the hostility and the animosity towards somebody. I completely understand that. But in all fairness, because I simply did not know who these people were, it's very, very, very simple for these people to still come up to me, such as they did, and hold conversations with me. It's very simple for me to walk up to these people, such as I did, and hold conversations with them, and it not even be something that was outwardly spoken as it relates to that.
Okay.
Chief, all I'm simply saying, when this is all said and done, Major, you are well within your rights to write based on everything that you have acquired. You're well within your rights to feel how you feel as it relates to the appropriate action being taken for the protection of this department, for the protection of the people that work here, and the order citizens. I'll just simply say this: the things that are put on paper as it relates to me is not necessarily a reflection of who I am as a genuine person. Now that I know this right here, now that I know the specific people, now that I know the specific areas, in the event God comes down and stands on the table right now and says, give him another chance, I promise you, I'm completely keeping my mouth closed. I'm completely staying to myself from a personal aspect and keeping my interactions with people here every single day simply and critically professional. These things are not things that I have. It's different if I come up to a girl and I touch her on her butt. At that point, I have no case to make. But if I come up to somebody and I make an innocent gesture towards them, and they take it a certain way, and they only tell you and don't tell me nothing, they tell you and don't tell me anything, then this is just how I see it. It's just not fair on my behalf. Am I not? Have they probably said, Corey, stop, or Corey, stop playing, whatever the case may be? You're absolutely right, but we're saying it as, it's just as if you're not placing a bet on the game and I say, I'm going to kick your butt in this game. You and I both know that it's merely figurative language. We both know that. So why would you sit here and take that as an offense? I don't know. But the fact of the matter is, if I sit up here and I say something and or do something to you as a person, and you respond to me in the exact same manner that I'm giving it to you, who in the world is going to sit here and think, okay, that person's probably playing, although that person responded just like me. That person's probably serious, although that person responded just like me. And the fact that everything that I'm doing, Chief, is all the way across the board, such as I have put names out there, and there are names up here. There are people on this floor that I can bring into this office right now, and they would tell you, yeah, Corey's a killer. Corey does it all the time. Or I'm sorry, Murray does that all the time. That's who he is. Yeah, he plays with me all the time. I walk by some of the clerks. Hey, how you doing? Whatever the case may be, I shoot some talk with them. Hey, come on, so where we going for lunch? The conversations are just as simple as that right there. Am I saying it with these people? With majority of the people? First off, not many people here know that I'm married, because I don't talk about my personal life like that. But there is a fair enough amount of people that can significantly say, yeah, I know he's married outside. I know he's married. I know he has a wife outside of work, etc., etc. So it makes me all the more comfortable. My point is to say and or do the things that I do, because these people know that I'm simply just playing. So I say all this to say, Chief, that this right here is not a direct reflection of the person that I really, really am. I know that at the end of it all, it's completely up to you whether or not you choose to follow through with Major Smith's recommendation. I just simply ask you that after this right here, if you would just allow me one more chance to sit up here and find out whether or not I can burn my own bridge, full well knowing all of this right here. That is all I simply ask.
Major, do you have anything before I close out and deliberate on today's discussion?
Yes. When we're talking about, you keep referring to the fact that it's not one individual person. You're absolutely right. It's not one individual person. It's a multitude of people. Oddly enough, every one of those people are CSOs that are less in pay, less in position. They don't know what the power a deputy has over them. They come forward. Of course, they didn't tell you the names, and even if they had told you, it would, from their perspective, that would jeopardize them to say they told you who these people are. Then you do go and do something to them, then that's a problem. The clerks or CSOs, they had no way of knowing where the investigation was, and the best they could do is just be themselves, and that's what they should do. As far as doing this type of baby, I keep thinking about your job description, and I just don't see it nowhere. And I know that we're not machines, and we have a certain amount of humor. And to say, hey, we're going for lunch, it's not a big deal. I do that there. I do it to people and mean it. I do it to Captain Lane. We got to do it. But you never sung to me. You never sung to any of these guys. But yet you go out there and you sing to those CSOs, and it's not acceptable. And then I look at it from a personal perspective. You said you meet this lady. Your story is that you touched her pants to ask her what type of pants it is. Well, I've only been married 5 years, but if you touch my wife's pants, you'd have a problem. I don't care how well you know me, because that's so. If you think it's okay for you, then think of the person, the significant other that person has. If nothing else will stop you. But the fact of the matter is, you said, well, she didn't work it out, and I understand she's not here. You can't cross-examine her or anything, and I get that. But at the end of the day, the two don't add up, and this girl don't know you've Madam's house cat. She has absolutely nothing to gain by saying that you did anything. It's not like a person says, hey, I want to sue, I want him fired, this is a girl that just merely says, hey, I don't feel good about it, but you know what, I've had a lot of guys hit on me, I get it, but from a deputy's perspective especially, she's worked around two for a long time that's never done anything of that nature. It shocked her. And that's not appropriate, and it's not your job description. Somebody on the phone in the courthouse, we're put in the courthouse to maintain order over there. Who do you think you are to tell her to get off the phone so she can talk to you? Even in jest, girl didn't know you. So if you're joking, that's not the type of person, that's not who you would do it to. Why in the world should she even be harassed by you? Because I can't think of any other word for it. And it's just for you to sit here and truly expect for us to totally understand that you just explain every bit of this away. It is above me. I mean, it's just beyond. I cannot fathom that you would truly expect me to be okay with this. I know what you're required to do. You've been trained on what you're required to do. You've been told. It's not. You're not a civilian. A civilian may not know what sexual harassment is. They may not know what a hostile work environment is. They may not know any of those things. But we are required to know. And if you don't know, that even scares me more. Because you're the one that's supposed to make a difference. You're the person that's supposed to walk in and make a difference in everything that we do. We're stop the issues. When things are going wrong, our mere presence is supposed to make a difference. And yours didn't. And that really bothers me. So I hope that, and I hate to see anybody, look, I pray about it, thought about it, and knowing you from the personal perspective that I do, it's really hard for me to ask for this type of disciplinary action taken against you. It really is. I don't know your wife, and you're right, I don't know her, but just the fact that you are married, it hurts to have to ask for that. But from this position that I sit in, I don't see any other way that I could have a conscience to lay down to sleep tonight, knowing that if I didn't do it, and something happened to somebody, how am I going to go and explain that to their family, to their loved one? Because you decided that, you know what, I'm going to do what I want to do. And I understand that if somebody's kid with you, but we're not really not talking about that. It's really not a case where one time you kidded with somebody that you shouldn't have kidded with. This is a constant, continuous thing. And not to mention the fact that if you're doing your job, all this should be happening anyway. We're here to take care of business. We're not robots, and we're going to talk and interact. But we have a job to do. And if you spent this much time doing this, you're just not doing your job.
Do you mind?
That's just the way I feel.
Do you mind if I respond to that, please?
I'm gonna. I think that you've had your testimony, and I think that's just a statement from the major, more than it is testimony. So at this point in time, I believe I've had equal time from both sides. It's approximately 1,500. If we would, let's take, say, 15 minutes. Let me review the facts of this, and we'll reconvene back in here at 15 after the hour, and I'll give you a decision.
Yes, sir.
Everybody can be dismissed then. Time is approximately 3:17. We're reconvened back in the conference room in the field division in reference to the pre-disciplinary hearing on Deputy Sheriff Corey Murray. Deputy Murray, as I look back at everything and all the statements, and then your statements in the hearing, the one statement that you made, and I know that you think it's a harmless action, but you said my actions are evenly distributed. I think there's no doubt about that. I think that you interact with many of these women in a way that, by your own words, that you're ignorant to. Your actions, whether you realize it or not, are imposing upon the people that you're interacting with. And there was several times that you said they never responded back to you no. That's not true. In their own statements, one of them said, I told him no many times. 2 different women said, I've told him no many times. But you say that they didn't say it in a serious way. I say no is serious no matter how you say it. And I don't think that maybe because of your personality that you pick up on no when it means no. But that's exactly what no means. You said they didn't give it back to you the same way you gave it to them. You're right. That's because they're not trying to participate in the kind of activity that you're trying to participate in at work. By the one female's statement, it made her uncomfortable to the point that she didn't want to come to work. When you look at this in totality, whether you realize it or not, and you should have, and I think that's the point that you miss. I think you've missed the point where you should have picked up on it, and you were told by a supervisor, but you should have picked up on this way before now. You have created a hostile work environment, and possibly a borderline sexually harassing environment for many of these women who had to come to their supervisor to seek help. And even before it got to that, they had told you no. They had swatted your hand away. And then in the face of having a conversation with a supervisor who's put you on notice to interact with the female at the bowling alley while on duty and in uniform at the very first day that you've met her, to the point of where you think it's okay to touch her on her pants and ask her what kind of fabric that is. All of your actions add up to completely unacceptable behavior for a deputy sheriff or an employee of the county. When I look at this, I have no option but to sustain 3.05 harassing an employee, 7.05 adherence to laws, and 9. Civil Service Rule 9.206 subsection D, which is willful or wanton of any provision of the civil service law or rules and regulations established by the Personnel Board. Subsection E, which is guilty of conduct becoming of a county employee. Subsection F, which is violation of any lawful or official regulation or order or failure to obey any lawful or reasonable directive made by a supervisor where such violation or failure to obey amounts to acts of insubordination or a serious breach of proper discipline, which will result or reasonably might expect it to result in loss to or injury to the county. Subsection I, guilty of actions which amount to insubordination or disgraceful conduct, whether committed on or off duty. And subsection J, wantonly offensive in conduct or language toward the public, county officers, or employees. And with that, I have no option but to go ahead and move forward with termination. With that being said, I'm going to close this hearing. I will stop the recording. There will be no further testimony or evidence given. I will dismiss all parties with the exception of Mr. Murray. I would need you to, I've got paperwork I'll need to give you and some stuff I'll need to get your signature on. I also need you to meet with Lieutenant McLaughlin in reference to make an appointment to getting back some of your equipment and stuff that belongs to the county.